Alrighty, let's get going here. So we have just a couple of slides left to do for the course. I decided to take that last unit a little bit slower. I could have gone faster through it, and I decided just to take it a little slower and sort of say, oh, now I'm out of time. Not enough time to do another unit. So this, whatever we cover today, will be the end of the content for the course and the end of whatever you're responsible for in terms of the final, right? And I'm sure we've answered this a million times, but I'm sure someone will write it in anyway. The final is December 15th at 9 a.m. It is 45 multiple choice questions. It is non-cumulative, so it is basically, we're not going to get to education. I'm sorry. Trust me, it's less fun than you might think. So we won't do that. We'll be okay. But yeah, we're gonna stop here and just let everybody have, a solid week to sit with things before the final. Wednesday we'll come back and I'll do Q&A, and if we have time, we'll do a Kahoot. If we get through the Kahoot, then there will be no class on Friday. If we don't get through it, on Friday we'll come and you can do the Kahoot and all of that fun stuff. I believe I put the December 1 video up because I think I went through and put everything up yesterday, but I am not 100% sure. I swear I did because I went purposely to do so. Okay. Alrighty. So, alright, where am I here? All right, so we ended off on this slide talking about the future of religion, right? And it looks like, as I said last time, the future of religion probably includes a lot of secularization, right? We're going to continue kind of moving in a direction where, at least in terms of religious authority, society becomes less and less religious, and certainly one where there's more religious diversity, right? Especially driven by immigration, right? And I'll show you, a little bit about the religious landscape in terms of Canada and how it's shifted just kind of in the last few decades to give you an idea what that looks like. Okay, so we talk about religious affiliation in Canada. If you went back to 1972, why that particular year? Well, there was a census in that year. You would be looking at a country in which the broad majority of its citizens were either Catholic or Protestant, right? Both Christians, right? So it's something around 95% of the population would have been basically in one of these two categories. Obviously, there were, Jewish people who started coming in the 18th century, but they've always made up a very small proportion of Canada's population. And then more recently, right, as the sources of immigration, so we talked about this, when we talked about race and ethnicity, as the sources of immigration for Canada have changed, Europe stopped providing the bulk of Canada's immigrants. We've seen a rise in Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs in particular. Buddhists a little bit earlier in the 20th century, though, today they're falling off in terms of their percentage of the population. How was my weekend? Busy, always busy. But we went and saw fireworks and had horse-drawn wagon rides because there's no sleds with my kids, so that was fun. Okay. So, kind of general shifts, historically in Canada, right? So basically roughly every 10 years now, we get a census from Statistics Canada that asks a bunch of religion questions, right? So 2001 was one, 2011 was another one, 2021 was the most recent one. I'll show you the 2021 numbers in a sec. Okay, so some stuff to kind of note, right? From 2001 to 2011, Catholics declined as a percentage of the population, right? 5-ish%. Protestants had stayed roughly the same. No religious identification had taken a big jump up from 16 to 23.9%. And then, the kind of other religions here, Muslims, up a little bit, Hindus and Sikhs up a little bit each. And then Buddhists and Jewish people kind of flat, basically. Total indigenous religions, right? Kind of roughly up a little bit, but roughly flat. Okay, so what does this look like in the most recent census data? Okay, so what you can see is like the period from 2011 to 2021 represents a pretty substantial shift in sort of the religious landscape in Canada, right? So if we look at our Catholics, right, roughly 2011, they were like 39-ish%, down to 29.9% in 2021. So a big decline that's mostly driven by a phenomenon called generational replacement, right, where older religious people die and they have to be replaced by younger religious people. For Catholics, that isn't happening, particularly in my favorite province and yours, I'm sure, Quebec. Quebec is going through this period where, for a long time, people said they were Catholic, for baby boomers, Gen Xers, and some millennials. But increasingly, younger millennials and Gen Z are just saying no. So a lot of this number is just driven by Quebec. Quebec, la belle province. All right. So mostly the rest of the story, right, for Christian denominations is all decline, right? So all along here, these are all Protestant, what we would call mainline Protestant denominations. And you can see that they've declined sometimes by pretty sharp numbers. The United Church being the biggest one, right, in terms of, declined by about 800,000 members, roughly. I mean, Catholics declined more than that by about 2 million. Or is it 2 million? Yeah, 2 million. 2-ish million people, a little bit less. So declines across the board. Christian Orthodox kind of stayed flat, so that's Greek or Russian Orthodox. Roughly flat percentage-wise with a slight growth in numbers. Other Christian, so these are what we call non-denominational Christians for the most part, went up by about 1 million, not offsetting the losses in other Christian denominations. Of course, big stories too, we look at Muslims, right? Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs have all grown, from very small percentages of the population to small, but slightly larger percentages. 4.9, almost 5% of Canadians today are Muslim. That's a big increase in a basically 30-year period. 30 years ago, it was basically 0. And now it's, 5%, and that number is going to continue to grow. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that would be mostly what other Christian is, would be like, if you drive around, let's say you go up from north on 50th Street, right before you hit the White Mud, you hit Life Church, or is it? Yeah, I think it's called Life Church. I drive by it every day. I don't know what happens inside, but that's what it says, Life Church. There's no denomination listed, so I would put that in the non-denominational category. It just kind of sits there and does its own thing. Yeah, or the one in Mill Woods, Hope City, because Despair City didn't sound very good. That one too would be kind of non-denominational. Okay, but that's a good question. Buddhist and in terms of people who say they're Buddhist and people who say they're Jewish, the numbers are basically flat from a population standpoint. But as Canada's population grows larger, their percentage of the population goes down. And then, kind of change Indigenous spirituality. But the big growth, right? The big growth. No religion. People who say on the census that they have no religion went from 1/4 of Canadians in 2011 to more than 1/3 of Canadians in 2021, right? And you see it on this graph, right? If you compare 2001 to 2021 on this graph, right, the story for Christians is smaller. The Christians for no religion the number of no religion is bigger, and other religions is bigger as well, right? So that orange bar being the most recent one, Christians as a percentage of the population are shrinking, and as a percentage of the population, no religion and other religions are growing. All right. And you can see, kind of the general track of this. Obviously, the big story is really the growth of the no religion, right? This is the phenomenon that we call the nones, right? Nones. And it's a interesting and bizarre kind kind of phenomenon. It's much less, it doesn't mean atheist and agnostic. That's one of the really tricky parts. Atheists and agnostics are lumped in with no religion, but most of the people who say that they're non-religious aren't atheists or agnostics. They're just nothing, right? They don't care enough to even make a categorization. And something around 10% of the population say they're atheist, of that grouping says they're atheist. About maybe 10-15% agnostic, and the rest is all nothing in particular. Okay, so yeah, these are, and I will say I stole these charts from Sarah Wilkins Laflamme at University of Waterloo when she put them on Twitter, because she did a really nice job of making them. And so I'm giving her credit. I'm citing my sources. I didn't make these. They're beautiful though. And it just kind of shows you the trajectory, right? If we go back to the 70s, and again, United Church I have here because they were the largest Christian denomination or non-Catholic Christian denomination in Canada historically. And, you see that in 1971, they were almost 20% of the population. Today, they're 3%. These older Protestant churches are basically collapsing and probably will be gone by 2035, right? Literally, the number will be so small that we can't measure it anymore. Catholics in Canada, were almost half the population in 1970. Today, right, they're down to just under 30%. Muslims is a story of 1991. Before 1991, they're too small to measure, right? There's not enough of them. They got lumped in with other religions. But since 1991, the growth rate has been such that today they're 5%. Sikhs, a slow, 1991 is the first time they show up, or they're big enough to kind of show up on the graph. And then, from there, 0.6% to 2.1%. And Hindus, 2.3% of Canada's population. Oh, and some fun stats, right? The biggest Muslim population in Canada is in Ontario, where they make up 7% of the population. 54% of people in Quebec say they're Roman Catholic, the largest of any proportion, and it's shrinking rapidly. 12% of British Columbians, for the smallest population, say they're Catholic. 29% of men say they are Roman Catholic in Canada, compared to 31% of women. That's not that big of a difference, but whatever. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to stop now with this chart. There's lots of interesting stuff here. Okay. All right, I will double check that after. I'm pretty sure I put them up, but maybe I put them in the wrong playlist. That happens sometimes. Okay, will I post the Kahoot? I will, probably, if I remember. Someone will bug me until I do. Do you need to know the stats? No, I won't ask you stats questions, but be aware of the trends, that's all. Okay. Oh, and that was my last slide. All right, so that's my last slide of the course. Someone had asked in the Slido what I teach aside from this class. I've got 3 in the winter, 2 in the spring, and 1 in the summer. So youth, this is a great class. I've been teaching this class since 2014. It is, I would call it my baby. My 4th baby. I have 3 human babies and 1 course baby. It's my favorite. I will say I love social religion. It's my second favorite, but this one is absolutely my baby because I've been teaching it the longest, and I'm the only one at U of A that has taught this class now in a decade, ensuring myself job security, I hope. I'm sure I'm not irreplaceable. So it's a great class. If you can get in, I'm going to open more seats in it. I think if I can find a room that will accommodate them. So, if you're you can put yourself on the wait list, and, I will open extra seats in it. I think it's at 95 right now, and it's full, and it has been since March or May or something. But I will open more seats in it. It's super fun, really interesting kind of class, all about y'all. So that's fun. Okay, my next other class. I also teach a section of SOC 100 in the winter, but I'm assuming we don't want to relive this. You're free to laugh at that joke. You're like, yes, it was horrible. Catholicism and pop culture, which I teach over at St. Joe's. It's a sort of, it might be my last time teaching it. I don't know. It's a little bit insane. We basically look at representations of the Catholic Church in popular culture, and just sort of do a whole bunch of discussions and try to analyze what it means in terms of changes in kind of the social landscape, particularly in the United States. And then intro to methods, if you're a masochist and you're deciding to do if you're doing a SOC degree, or a SOC major, or minor, you'll have to take that at some point. I'm teaching it next term, Mondays and Wednesdays, 2 to 3:20. My pitch for this class, take it with me. It's not as bad as it sounds. That's the best I can do. All right, and then I've got a couple in the spring. So I teach youth again in the spring, a little bit smaller, but same format, just really fast. And then I teach this one, Sociology of Christianity at St. Joe's again, online, asynchronous in the spring. So if you want to knock off something, in the spring, it is completely asynchronous. So you do not have to show up. You just have to watch the videos. And they're all available from day one. And I'll probably even, as soon as I can put the e-class up, I will release everything so you can get a start on it early if you want. It's decently fun, very much like my SOC of Religion class, but with a bit more focus on Christianity. And then Catholicism and pop culture again in the summer, but this time online, everything pre-recorded again, and I get it up so you can kind of look at it as quick as possible. That's it for me. Like that is, I did this in 20 minutes. I'm sorry, I thought it would take longer, or I don't know what I would have done. I still had a few slides to cover. All right, how to end. Well, I will say, I don't know, I haven't given you a chance to do the spots yet, so I'll say, now you have time to do the spot. How should we end? Should we end with some Shakespeare? Would you want to hear some Shakespeare? All right, from Julius Caesar. There is a tide in the affairs of men, which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is mired in shallows and in miseries. Upon such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures. All right, you're young, you're on a full sea, take the current when it serves, or lose your ventures. All right, that's it for me. I will stick around until everyone's gone if you want to ask questions. Other than that, Wednesday we'll come back, we'll do Q&A. Maybe we'll do a Kahoot, either that or we'll do it on Friday. You're too kind. And yeah, have a good time. Let me know if you have any questions and we'll go from there. Alrighty. Oh, thank you. Oh, can I explain I should have looked. Can I explain the connection between Quebec and the decline in Christianity? Quebec went through what's called the Quiet Revolution in the 60s, where basically people abandoned the church in droves, and it's just driving that decline in Christian belief. All right. Yeah, you can go straight from this to 377. It won't be a problem. February, you can sign up for spring classes in February. Do I teach crim? Not this year, maybe next year. Depends what they need me to do. This year, they put me in methods twice because they hate me. Confirmed location is here. Confirmed date is the 15th. Confirmed time is 9 a.m. Okay. Thank you for the great semester. Thank you kindly. All right. Ayla.
I just want to ask you about accommodations for the final.
Yes.
Yes.
What about it?
Do you just know that I get them?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I've been putting them up for you for both of the other exams.
The last test, I didn't get them. I tried to. It might have been like a system thing. It was okay because I finished in time anyway. The ear tests are fairly easy.
Yeah, I may have entered it wrong, but I will make sure that it's put in properly.
Yeah, I just ended up going into the other thing, but it all worked out. I had to try it 3 times, but as long as you know.
Yep.
Is your test going to be e-class?
Yes, same, everything the same. Yeah.
So what are we doing?
Just like Q&A. So like when we've done before the exams, just like Q&A and then a in-class Quizlet.
And this might be I don't know if you can answer. How much harder would you say SOS 377 is compared to this?
So all of the exams are written, right? So it's like short answer questions. I don't think it's that hard, to be honest. I think if you are paying attention or keeping up with the lectures either in person or online, it's fairly tolerable, right? It is a little bit more specific because I make the questions open book, and you can do them at home, right?
Yeah.
I do, because of that, I do expect a pretty high kind of standard of answer, right? A little bit less vague, but I don't think it's considered a hard class by any stretch of the imagination.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers.
Sorry, I'm still super finished from my last class.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh yeah, do you know if 210 can count for 151 in other courses?
in other programs.
Yeah,
I
because
believe.
I'm planning on doing a double major in psychology as well at the end.
I'm pretty sure that if you go to psychology and you say, hey, I took intro to stats in sociology, and this is where we really should combine our efforts in this and make it much simpler for people because we make it too complicated. But I've, like, in my classes, when someone wants to take intro to methods and they come with, intro stats, it's always like, yeah, sure. Like, as long as there's space, we let them sign up because it's the same kind of idea. You just have to kind of go through the process, right? So you have to go talk to the advisor in psychology and say, okay, can I use stats or SOS 210 as the stats class? And they're usually like, yeah, it's basically the same, so all good.
I think I need to declare that I'm actually doing that.
Like Michael Scott, declare bankruptcy. I declare bankruptcy. I declare a major.
And then just thank you so much for teaching this class.
Oh, you're welcome.
So sweet. It's always been a field that I've been interested in.
Oh, good. Well, I hope I did it justice. Intro SOS is notoriously hard because it's so broad, right?
Yeah, it is.
So, and then you get to go in each of these individual units we did. You can do like a whole course in them, right? For the most part, we have courses in not everything, but a lot of it, right? So, globalization, race and ethnicity, definitely a lot of crime and deviance. Theory, lots of theory classes, methods. I'm trying to think if there's anything I taught. Culture. We don't have any culture classes anymore, but I'm trying to bring them back. We'll see. Yeah, but you're welcome. And thanks for all your questions and coming to chat after class.
Thank
I
you for
appreciate it.
this. It's been really helpful and nice to.
Oh, it's part of the job. All part of the job.
Thank you.
That must feel like really good to hear.
It does. And I'll just go check my ego on Rate My Professor later. Worst.
Apparently
Prof.
called one of my other profs ugly. One of them, they're just like, I hate you and you're ugly. And he's like, was it my beard?
I hate you and you're ugly.
He's actually really cool.
That's kind of cold,
I
man.
know,
Like,
right?
I'm also ugly and I just would rather people not talk
I'll
about
just
it.
write you're bald.
What's that?
I'll just write that you're bald.
Oh, yes, very much so.
I was just wondering about like the stats and stuff. Am I gonna have to remember like?
No, I won't ask like specific stats questions, right?
But
Like,
are you gonna ask like which one was like higher during this time?
no,
Okay.
no. It'd be like about kind of the general trends, right? So less religious, more secular, kind of general declines in Christianity, growth of nothing.
It's so weird. I'm better at like remembering specific information, so I'm kind of like, oh, nuts. Okay. Also, so we're not gonna be doing like the education.
No, we're out of time, right? I could have tried to jam it in. Like I could have started it today, and
Okay, no, I appreciate that.
I
Because I
I'm-
have an exam the exact same day, so I have 2 finals.
I just kind of figured like people have this glazed look of like,
I know.
You're
it's
still
like when
talking,
summer's coming,
and
you're
I'm
not
still
even-
here.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Sorry, I know.
Yeah, no worries.
My mom wanted me to ask. Do you like know any? I don't really know anything, but do you know anything about like summer studentship in sociology?
Summer, sorry?
Studentship.
I don't. This is one where you would have to go talk to our SOS undergrad advisor, Pam Minty. She's on the 5th floor of Torrey. Yeah, you can, SOS if you send me an email just asking about it, I can send you their email address.
I think I have it.
Yeah, and they will know all of that. I think we might have something specifically in crim. I think we have more, but it's not in my department. My department is teaching and some other things.
All right. Thank you. Though.
Yeah, no problem.
Should I go check on it?
Yeah, and it's probably even if you do it in the new year, I doubt it's a huge rush on that stuff because we're scarcely that organized in sociology. It's not like we're picking anything for the summer right now. I don't think. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
You're 7 course, so it's super interesting. So
I-
I'll probably take that as one of my.
Yeah, and I mean, if all goes well, I will be teaching it for many more years. So even if you don't get in now, it will show up again in the future. And I'm not planning to go anywhere. I don't know if they're planning on keeping me here, but so far it's been 10 years and they haven't thrown me out the door. So maybe this is finally the term where it happens, right? Where it's like, nope, you're done. Who knows, right?
Do away with this whole department.
Well, I mean, that's a 10, 15-year project, right? No, it'll become a criminology department because we're high, like crim is the part of the program that's growing at this point, and unfortunately, it's the one that's being resourced as well. So eventually what will happen